वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। कपिलाय नमस्तस्मै एनाविद्यो दधो जगदिमग्ने कारुण्यात् साङ्ख्यमयी गौरिव विहिता प्रतरणाय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Karika 53, elemental creations. All the different kinds of physical bodies. So 8 kinds of divine bodies like Devata Sharira, and 5-fold of animals, and then human body. This ekavidhaha samasoyam bhautika sargaha. So this is the bhautika sarga, the creation from bhutas, elements. It's a brief summary of this creation. So that is what it said. Now in 54, so why these 3 kinds? So that is mentioned according to the gunas, the variations of gunas. The variations are degrees or variations in intelligent level. So degrees of intelligence. So where the sattva is predominant, there the intelligence is more clear and it is nearer to knowledge, the higher level of knowledge. And then the lower level with the tamas, and then rajoguna is the middle intermediate level. So the 3 kinds here: ashtavikalpaha devaha, panchada tiryagyonayaha, and manushascha ekavidha. So that is described in 54. The same thing you can see in Bhagavad Gita also, in 14th chapter, Urdham Gacchanti Sattvastha. So we see Karika 54. Urdham Sattva Vishalaha Tamo Vishalascha Mulatas Sargaha Madhye Rajo Vishalo Brahmadistamba Paryantaha Urdhvam Sattva Vishala. Vishala means predominance of Sattva. So Urdhvam Sattva Vishalaha, the higher words of Brahma and others, So we have seen that Brahma, Prajapati, Saumya, Indra, all those. There the Sattva Guna is predominant. Therefore, knowledge is in higher level. And opposite of that, Tamo Vishalaha Mulata Sargaha. Similarly, when Tamas is in its higher level, Vishalaha Mulata Sargaha, the creation of bottom. Bottom means it is downwards, the lower level of intelligence. Compared to human beings, the animals have lower level of intelligence. So that is because the sattva is not predominant there. Tama, or can say comparative to Tama and Raja, is working there. Therefore, they cannot receive knowledge, or like we have ability to receive new, we can develop our intelligence and receive more knowledge. It is not possible in animals. So they are in lower level. Tamo Vishalaha Mulada Sarka. Madhye Rajo Vishala. In the middle, Madhye, in the middle, the world of human beings. So Madhye Rajo Vishalaha. Brahmadi Stamba Paryantaha Sarkaha. This is the whole creation. Starting from God Brahma. The Brahma is the creator, a very famous creator in Puranas. This Brahmati. Starting from Brahma down to the Stamba Paryanta, the lower level of grass. The small grass is called the Stamba. The Stamba Paryantaha. So the Brahmati Stamba Paryantaha Sargaha. The Sarga is, this is what the Sarga is. So this way, Sankhya is suggesting the lower level of or higher level of words, the enjoyments, are because of the difference of intelligence, difference of knowledge. So once you are doing some sadhana to make your mind more clear and do higher level of sadhana, then after that, so once the body, once you die, after that, the karma takes you to higher level of understanding. That is the higher level of experiences. There, that is called a Brahma and all those. So Brahmaji is the highest of the intelligence. Therefore, in this creation, the other Brahma, the all-pervading Brahma, is different. This is the Lord. Then the creator as the Brahma is called. The Brahmadi Stamba Paryantaha Sankaha. This is accepted by Sankhya and all other philosophies. So this has been mentioned before, that Dharmena Urdhva Gamanam, it has come there also. So by Dharma you go to higher level. These are the worlds of the creations. Now, when one individual jiva goes to all these worlds, what is happening there? What is the experience there? Ultimately, all these worlds are with suffering, and we have all the problems, the similar problems there. Only the enjoyments, the objects are different. In this world, we have limited objects, There we have unlimited objects, but they are not permanent. So this pain and different type of experience or the outside enjoyments, they are the same. So that is mentioned in next Karika. What is the samsara is? Tatra jara marana kritam dukkham prapnodi cetana purushaha. लिंगस्य अविनिवृत्तेस्तस्मात् दुःखं स्वभावेन So tatra, in those bodies or in those different level of worlds, jara marana kritam dukkham prapnoti cetana purusha. This individual soul, cetana purusha, jara marana kritam dukkham prapnoti. The suffering caused by decay and death, jara and marana. The jara we know, the old age. Actually here in some worlds like Brahmaloka and all other worlds, there is old age is not there. That is what it is said. But it will also decay. Therefore, it means once you get the body, after sometimes the enjoyment is finished. So your karma is finished, then enjoyment is finished. You have to come back. The individual cannot stay there. So that is decay. So jara marana kritam dukkham prapnoti cetana purushaha. Why it is said? Because to indicate that all these worlds, by karma we reach there, by doing so much of punya karmas, good practices, we go there. But that is there, the worlds are not permanent, impermanence. So therefore, we have to have vairagya from those, dispassion. So for that reason it is mentioned here. Otherwise we know this in the first Karika itself it is said. So in this world and the other world, whatever enjoyment is there, that is not permanent. So we want a permanent solution, atyantika. So therefore, we are learning all this philosophy. It is already, we know that. But here again, in this context, regarding this body's developments, it is mentioned for vairagya, dispassion. So tatra jara marana kritam dukkham prapnoti cetana purushaha. So lingasya avinivritte, until the deliverance of linga sharira, until the linga sharira is there, you will get different kinds of bodies by the karmas. So lingasya avinivrittehe. So here again you can see the linga sharira is the carrier. So linga sharira is transmigrating body. It is taking you to all these different worlds. So lingasya avinivritte tasmad dukkham swabhavena. Therefore, in all these worlds, dukkham, suffering is by nature. So by nature suffering is there. So the manifestation of Prakriti brings all this, and there we experience all kinds of different kinds of sufferings. Only knowledge will release you from this bondage. Out of 8 parts of bhavas, only knowledge helps you to release. So that is what we depend on knowledge, not all others karmas. So linkasya avinivritte tasmat dukkham swabhavena. So swabhava here it can be translated by nature, but swabhava can be translated as prakriti also. So because all this manifestation based on prakriti, so prakriti is called swabhava sometimes. So by nature, by prakriti, everywhere in the whatever you experience, we can call it as suffering only. So therefore, we should avoid this birth and death circle. So we have to depend on dispassion and knowledge. So this is by the discussion here Ishvara Krishna is mentioning the importance of dispassion and the nature of the world and experiences. The next Karika is concluding this discussion of these different worlds. Ityesha prakriti krito mahadadi vishesha bhoda paryantaha Pradipurusha vimokshartham swartha iva pararthe arambha. Pradipurusha vimokshartham swartha iva pararthe arambha. Pradipurusha vimokshartham swartha iva pararthe arambha. So thus, ityesha, thus we have explained all the variations of creation. So ityesha prakriti kritaha. So originated from prakriti. So prakriti kritaha mahadadi vishesha bhuta paryantaha. So starting from beginning from mahat and ending with the particular bodies, physical bodies and everything has been explained. Ityesha prakriti krito mahadadi vishesha bhuta paryantaha sargaha. So instead of sarga, creation, here we have a word arambha. Arambha is also creation. Brought about. Arambha means it is starting, a beginning. So it's a creation is mentioned. And why it is prati purusha vimokshartham? Why Prakriti is doing all this? So it is said prati purusha vimokshartham. Prakriti wants to release each purusha, each consciousness. So prati purusha vimokshartham. This is the ultimate achievement. Vimoksha, moksha. So we have two purusharthas, enjoyment and then liberation. So the second one which is important, that is prati purusha vimokshartham. Now how purusha will be, the individual soul will be released. After enjoying all this, you will get dispassion. You will know what these worlds and enjoyment is. Then the dispassion will come after that, and knowledge, then liberation. This is how Prakriti is liberating. So Prati Purusha Vimokshartham. Now Swarthe Iva Pararthe Arambha. Actually, Prakriti has no purpose. Why? Because Prakriti is insentient. So insentient cannot have any object, any thought process as a desire or anything like that. Now how can you say this Prakriti is working for Purusha, for the liberation of Purusha. Now, without knowledge, without consciousness, how can it works like that? So he is answering that. One answer. It is given Pratipurusha Vimokshatam Swarthe iva Pararthe Arambha. Actually done for another's benefit, but as if for itself. It seems to be for itself, but it is doing for others. So like that. No? Swarthe iva Pararthe Arambha. So when one vehicle moves, when outside we see that vehicle is moving. But this vehicle is moving not for its purpose. It is moving for the person inside who is traveling, the traveler. The moving for the traveler. So pararthe swarthaiva arambha. Or other way also you can translate or give the explanation that pararthe arambha swarthaiva or swarthe arambha pararthaiva. So done for another's benefit as if for itself, or done for itself as if another's benefit. So this way, swarthaiva parartha arambha. Why it is said? Now this manifestation which takes place in a successive way, one after another, it is a natural process. Why? Because Purusha consciousness has no role in that. Consciousness is separate from that. As an observer or like as a sun is just giving the light. But when the insentient objects manifest its own, it seems to be for itself, but it cannot function for itself. Why? Because we have discussed this point, Sankhadasya pararthatva. So no Sankhata can work for itself. So this house is not for the sake of house. It is for the sake of the person there. So therefore, this manifestation, although it sees there is some force behind it. So that force is the purpose behind it. The Pratipurusha Vimokshartham Swarthaiva Parartha Arambha. This is how they could say about it, because it is very difficult to say why this Prakriti is working. What is the reason? Without consciousness. That is the problem this Sankhya has. Because consciousness has no direct role in creation. And without that, without the support of consciousness, Prakriti is working individually. So that is what we say. No, completely independent. So this point is this point what they say as the Prakriti is working independently. This has taken as the problem of Sankhya. Then all the debate and discussion with this, because how the Prakriti knows what to do and how to do. So this is not there in the Prakriti. Therefore, consciousness must be there. And in that case, they bring the consciousness by reflection. They have the consciousness, but by reflection. And unattached consciousness is reflected. So by the reflection, everything manifests. This is how they answer it. Pratipurusha Vimokshartham Swarthaiva Parartha Arambha. So now this is how the manifestation takes place. Now the next Karika is giving next 1, 2, 3, all the 3 Karikas. They are giving different examples for this purpose. But because this question is very important, how without consciousness Prakriti can work and manifest automatically, how can be done. So they find some examples and some illustrations, so that is given in next Karikas. Vatsa vivriddhi nimittam ksherasya yatha pravrittirajnasya Purusha vimoksha nimittam tadha pravritti pradhanasya So same word is repeated, Purusha Pradipurusha vimokshartham Purusha vimoksha nimittam. So that is the ultimate Purushartha. So Vatsa vivriddhi nimittam kshirasya yatha pravrittihi ajnasya. Now they are taking the example of milk. The secretion of milk from the cow. So Vatsa vivriddhi nimittam. So what is the purpose of that? For the growth of calf. So Vatsa, calf, vivriddhi nimittam, for the growth. So that is the purpose behind it. And Kshira, here the Kshira is insentient. The milk is insentient. But it is flowing naturally. Like water is flowing. Water is insentient and flowing. Similarly, so the milk is flowing, is secretion for growth of the calf. Now this growth, what we see as an object of this milk, the purpose of milk. So vatsa vivriddhi nimittam kshirasya yatha pravrittihi. Similarly, this is said as a upama. Now this point has been taken by Shankaracharya ji in Bhashya, and he has given a good answer to this. So how it is possible? So you say milk is flowing without consciousness, but the cow itself is a conscious being. So without consciousness, how can it flow? And the emotion by which the milk flows, that is also in that cow. Without that, it is not possible. And therefore, this what you brought this example is not correct. So we should say, based on consciousness, Prakriti is working, that is okay. But this example doesn't give you the information or the idea that it is working individually or independently. It is not totally independent. Because without the conscious being as cow, there cannot be no milk produced. So Shankaracharya gives a long explanation how the milk is produced. So it is produced by the support of consciousness. It is there in Brahma Sutra, how it is given there. So Brahma Sutra, 2nd chapter, 23rd sutra, the discussion is there. So therefore, Vatsa vivriddhi nimittam kshirasya yatha pravritti. So here, what the Sankhyas give the explanation or the answer for this problem. They say this is only upama. So now we have upama, udaharanam and drishtanta. So 3 words are there in Sanskrit. Upama, we can say resemblance. That translation as resemblance, simile. But it is a simile. It's called upama. And then the upama means we can take one point of some resemblance. That's all. But it cannot be proved logically. So in the case of upama, there is no need to prove it logically. You just take a simile and give your idea. Like it is very famous. The face is like moon like face. So this is a upama. It is called upama. The resemblance is given, but now if you want to prove the face is like moon, it cannot be. No logic is applied there. So moon-like face is a very some idea is conveyed there. The beauty of the face is conveyed there. That's all. So like when we see moonlight or moon, we are delighted. So that that emotion, it is shown there just to give that information. This is normal upama, resemblance. So they say here it is like a very simple upama. This is not drishtanta or udaharana. That is the argument given by the opposite argument given by Sankhyas. Now, when we say udaharanam or drishtanta, can be both like and take. So in udaharanam, relating to an example. So udaharanam is an example, and we can find some logic there. We can take a special idea or a particular idea conveyed with some logic. Then that is called udaharana. Because in all other philosophies like Nyaya and other philosophies, Vedanta, we call it udaharanam. We have 5 parts of Nyaya, and one of them is udaharana. So we give an example or some instance. So it can be with some logic. And when we say drishtanta should be completely understandable with the logic and the philosophy used there. Drishtanta means only we can take one part of the idea. We cannot just make everything the same. Drishtanta will be something different from the object for which it is given. But we can use more logic and philosophy and prove it. So something will be there. That is called drishtanta. But here these 3, 1, 2, 3, 58, 57, 58, 59. 3 karikas, whatever is given here, is called upama. So only some resemblance as given, it cannot be said. Like if the milk is, no, you cannot take milk separately. You have to take with the cow. And now when the object of the milk or the purpose of milk, when we take, we cannot bring cow there. So like that, something you have to avoid. So vatsa vivriddhi nimittam kshirasya yatha pravritti ajnasya pradhanasya. This pradhana prakriti is ajna, unconscious, or it has no knowledge. So ajnasya, the unconscious prakriti, is doing all this pravritti, all this creation and activities for the purpose of purusha. Purusha vimoksha nimittam. To release the purusha from this bondage. Purusha vimoksha nimittam. So that is the ultimate purpose. So the first purpose as enjoyment or bhoga is implied here. So you have to understand, first Prakriti gives all the enjoyments, and from there the dispassion, the one part of that bhava srishti is dispassion, vairagya. From that knowledge will come, and then liberation. So after liberation, Prakriti is released. Now there is no union with the Purusha or no connection with the Purusha, with the Prakriti. That individual Purusha is released. So that is the purpose of Prakriti here. This. We have a similar sutra, corresponding sutra in Sankhya. Acetanatvepi kshiravat cheshtitam prathanasya. The same thing is repeated there. Therefore, we have to accept this. Although this example is not very, very good to communicate the idea, but there is no other choice. Therefore, they have given this example. Because for this example, Ishvara Krshna is more criticized. How he brought this example? So, of course, it's not supporting very much. So, non-existence of. With this, again, one more point is discussed there. Because this example shows there is no other consciousness. Other consciousness in the sense like Ishvara or some other consciousness which is controlling all this creation. So there is no controller, no omniscient consciousness. So only this pure consciousness, what they call as Sakshi consciousness, so the consciousness itself, the Purusha. So other than that, no Ishvara is there to control all these functions. So that is also implied here. So from this we can understand that. Now Prakriti is working independently, and Purusha's consciousness is reflected on the manifestations of Prakriti, but it become conscious, like Mahat Tattva and all other become conscious. From this 20th Karika, it is coming like that. Now, again, one problem is there. The purpose of life. Who decide the purpose of life? Now, the pure consciousness cannot decide the purpose of life, according to Sankhya. Because Vedanta and other philosophy, we have all these points there. We can say that the purpose can be decided by the individual Jivatma. Because the Jivatma, the individual soul is suffering. So the individual soul want to release himself from the suffering. That is possible. Now here in Sankhya, this is not possible, because individual soul, if we take this consciousness, the consciousness has no purpose for himself or itself. Now we have to say the purpose can be there in Prakriti only, in the nature. And in Prakriti is which manifestation? The first manifestation. First manifestation as intelligence or Mahat Tattva. So in cosmic way we can say Mahat Tattva. The Mahat Tattva has the purpose, individually Buddhi has the purpose. Okay, so now Buddhi, Mahat Tattva is reflected consciousness. Reflected consciousness, that is what we learn as Linga Sharira or Mahat Tattva is reflected consciousness. Now, in this reflected consciousness, where this purpose of life, like this bhoga and apavarga, enjoyment and liberation, is manifested. How it is manifested? If you say it is already there in that, then it is always there, because Prakriti is eternal. The purpose is always carried. Then what is the problem? Then there cannot be liberation. So the liberation cannot happen, because always this purpose is carried with the material cause itself. So that is one point. The other point, if we say the reflected consciousness has this purpose, the reflected consciousness, not the pure consciousness, but reflected consciousness. So reflected consciousness has means it cannot be the part of Prakriti, because it is in reflected consciousness. The reflected consciousness is not part of the Prakriti. Where it is reflected, that is part of Prakriti. That is the manifestation of Prakriti as intellect or mind or whatever. But the consciousness is not. Now, we cannot say that, because the reflected consciousness is, because it is reflected, it cannot bring a new idea in there. It can only reflect what is there. Why? Because the pure consciousness has no purpose. That is what they say in their philosophy. They say pure consciousness is pure. It has no enjoyment, no liberation, nothing. So we will see in the Karikas in 64 and 65. It is clearly, they say that there is no purpose or no activities, nothing there in consciousness. It is completely pure. So therefore, they have to say some misunderstanding, some confusion is happening between two by this reflection. So that reflection, or what confusion we call it as Maya or Mithya. So something is happening, because originally consciousness has no purpose, and the Prakriti, if the material was itself has the purpose cannot be completed, or we cannot say it will leave the purpose. The purpose will be there forever. So there is no liberation then. So in between there is some confusion. That confusion means it is illusion, that we can say, or misunderstanding or something. So it is attributed to consciousness. The purpose is attributed to consciousness. So this is where the manifestation aimed with, to release this, to remove this confusion. So therefore, Purusha Vimokshartam, they just say easily Purusha Vimokshartam. But how the Prakriti can do that? It cannot come from its own. Because liberation is not a manifestation. Liberation, emancipation is not a part of manifestation. Okay, the enjoyment can be the part of manifestation. It is an effect of manifestation. But liberation, releasing, how can be the manifestation? It cannot be the manifestation. You are releasing it, separating it. The separation cannot be a manifestation. So separation can be said as a purpose when you misunderstood, or you took it as something else, So it means what is originally there, it is the consciousness and the material cause, and there it come together. When they are united, then the creation starts. So this union of this ignorance is the purpose, to disconnect. Then it can be said. So what is disconnection? Removing the misunderstanding, removing the ajnana, ignorance. So that way it can come. So we'll see the next Karika. Om Purnamataha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti.